Most VR shooters focus on fast-paced arcade action, but when it comes to tactics and realism, Tactical Assault VR is the only game that takes the genre seriously. Despite these simple graphics, this is a brutally realistic shooter that rewards discipline and punishes impatience. The combat requires a methodical and tactical approach with full awareness of your surroundings, where one wrong move can end the mission instantly. As I usually play fast-paced games such as Forefront, adjusting to Tactical Assault took a lot of patience and discipline. But once I got used to the gameplay mechanics, I found this to be an incredibly immersive shooter, as it requires situational awareness at all times.
You did, the other dude didn't.
The lethality of the enemies at all ranges really forces you to lock in and be deliberate, as you're punished for mistakes. But that's also what makes it so rewarding, because once you start using proper tactics, you'll not only survive more encounters, but also eliminate threats with speed and precision. Naturally, you'll also start developing more awareness of your surroundings and how to adapt accordingly. The main focus of the game is close quarters combat, so instead of walking into a room, you'll need to stack up and scan the environment before breaching. Enemies are almost dead silent and wait to ambush you, so you've got to pay full attention to your surroundings as you'll never know where they're hiding. When alerted, enemies can also counterattack and move to flank you, unlike in most games where they'll usually stay in the same position. At first I was put off by the simple polygon graphics, but once I started playing I realized this game is dead serious and surprisingly immersive. Firstly, the audio is incredibly raw and daunting. The guns sound very loud but also distinctive, as every shot sounds intimidating, like a real weapon. Every near miss from the enemy literally makes me flinch in both close and long range combat, as though my life is actually in danger. But it also reminds you that your weapons are also just as lethal. The shotguns in particular feel incredibly devastating and satisfying to use. Every shot feels like it has the weight of a freight train behind it, which makes a bloody mess of anyone on the receiving end. Speaking of which, the physics also greatly add to the realism by making every shot feel much more convincing on impact. Enemies react realistically to every shot. The way they ragdoll and hit the floor is both brutal and sometimes even disturbing. Grenades bounce realistically, so after a little practice you can bank them around corners and through doorways with surprising accuracy. The weapons also have weight and collide with the environment, so even the way you handle your gun is important. This makes you feel much more connected with your weapon and how you adapt in close quarters to avoid bumping into things. In most shooters, weapon handling is mostly about controlling recoil, but in TAVR, simply positioning your weapon correctly is just as important. Locked doors can also be opened by striking them with the rear end or stock of your weapon until they burst open. Turns out this is also a great way to announce your arrival, as it alerts enemies who start firing the moment the door opens. However, you can also shoot through doors if you suspect an enemy hiding on the other side. Fortunately, there's a large arsenal of guns, from assault rifles and SMGs to sniper rifles and shotguns, all with plenty of attachment options to customize each weapon for different scenarios. The attachments allow you to tailor each weapon to suit your playstyle, such as long-range optics with a canted iron sight to adapt to both close and long-range engagements. You'll also find grenades, flashbangs, stims, tools and breaching equipment. By the way, if you're enjoying this review so far, don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing, as this will give me feedback on what to make next. Onto the modes, there are 3 to choose from. First, you'll want to start with CQB training in randomized rooms, which is the best way to learn. This is where you can test out all the weapons and attachments, learn enemy behavior, breaching and room clearing tactics. You will make plenty of mistakes, so these training rooms are the best way to learn from them before jumping into the main missions. Once you're ready for the missions, you'll be eliminating enemies, defusing bombs, rescuing hostages, or eliminating high-value targets. After completing objectives, you'll still have to make it to the extraction point alive, which is usually the hardest part of the mission. Unlike the other modes, Wave Survival shifts the focus from careful tactics to reflexes and reaction speed. Enemies come from every direction without warning, giving you little time to react and find cover. Despite being the first mode in the game, this should really be an in-game mode as it's by far the most difficult. So I suggest leaving this till last as it can be very frustrating for new players.
Alright, let's go boys.
As for multiplayer, you can play both co-op and PvP, with cross-play between PC and Quest, so I had no trouble finding games.
Motherfucker, arrest me, I'm bleeding.
Co-op is up to 6 players on Quest and 8 on PC. Most players communicate well, use proper CQB callouts and coordinate effectively, so teamwork feels tight even with random players. The slight downside is that co-op can also feel much faster and less tense, because experienced players can often clear rooms before I even get the chance. So personally, I actually prefer to play solo as I can move at my own pace, instead of rushing to keep up with others. It also feels much more immersive because you're responsible for every decision you make, instead of relying on teammates. Initially, the game focused on CQB like Ready or Not, but more recent updates have introduced larger outdoor environments that feel much closer to a military simulator, so there's plenty of variety between CQB and large-scale maps.
We got one cash down.
If you're used to fast-paced shooters such as Contractors and Forefront, this may be a steep learning curve. But if you're willing to adjust to a more methodical approach, then you'll find this deeply rewarding as it offers a level of realism I still haven't found in any other VR shooter, even 3 years after release. As for the price, the game is $20 on both Steam and Quest, but you can get 10% off the Quest version with my code VRCT, which also applies to all Quest games. Lastly, I also want to briefly address the Jarvis situation. The team officially announced that he stepped down and that the game is now under new leadership, with Kanto and Puddle at the helm. Development is still on track with new PvP updates rolling out, but mod support has been slightly delayed. The community is also already bouncing back with the recent announcement, so I still have full faith in the team to deliver. If you found this review helpful, feel free to leave a like and hit subscribe for more reviews like this, and I'll see you in the next.
This.
Oh, let me try something. Just the most American thing.